I knew for the most part, deep down, I was going to be okay getting on that horse. I was nervous, but putting myself in those scenarios. What am I scared to do?
Right.
I'm going to go do that because now I can call upon that confidence. Yeah. No, it's not the same thing. I'm not getting on a horse when I'm picking up that phone, but I am sitting here replaying and knowing, hey, I can do hard things.
Right.
It's not that scary. I can pick up this phone.
Yeah.
So those three things for me are what's helpful now as I get older and overcoming that fear. What's the chatter I tell myself? I've got to just do it. And what are some other things that can translate to whatever I'm scared of doing?
That. So I think one of the hardest things for, I think, men specifically, is to admit that we're scared of something.
Ain't scared enough.
We couldn't even take you serious.
I was literally
scared.
I was just about to say,
Except for snakes. And
I was just about to say, I really don't have a problem at all telling you what I'm scared about. I'll go down the list right now.
but so he's right though. Tyler's right, man. We don't, as men, we always think we're so damn tough that we don't have any fears. It is so untrue.
Yeah, and I think our culture, we're softening up to the idea about talking about it, but the reality is there's a difference between talking about your fears and verbalizing it, and then succumbing to those fears, and having those fears inhibit experiencing life. And we've got a real life story that literally has happened in the last 72 hours. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off, and Darren, fill it in.
Yes.
So we just got back from our company retreat. We went to this big 10,000 acre ranch down in Central Texas. And so the three of us all working together, the first day was for partners and top achievers. Somehow I slipped into that mix, but all three of us were there that day early. So our leadership, Darren being one of them, planned this event that was a surprise for us.
Darren didn't plan it.
Absolutely not.
So the only clue they gave us was bring pants and closed-toe shoes, preferably boots, right? So I'll wear that on a 110-degree day in the summer while I'm outside anyway. So I'm like, yeah, this is going to be like my type of surprise, right?
This is your jam. Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. My assumption was being on the ranch, doing all that, like there's going to be something to do with horses.
Right.
We even kind of joked about it. Ben sent some memes between the three of us. It was the Eric Berry reference when he was scared.
Yeah. If you don't know what that reference is, go to YouTube and type in Eric Berry horse.
Yeah.
It's the funniest 47 seconds of your day.
So we had some guesses, but we didn't really know exactly what the event was going to be like. And so we get to the lodge, we check in, and they're like, okay, hey, we're all meeting here at 3:00. Now, again, I'm going to set the scene. It's the first really couple weeks in Texas that have been really hot. Like we're talking
First couple of days, honestly.
Yeah, really. We've had a really good spring in Texas.
It's been raining forever.
And so in the last week, it's gotten up over 90 degrees, and then it just kept going. So we're at like 97, 98 degrees. And because of the rain you mentioned, extra humid. So it's a little uncomfortable, right? Jeans don't technically slide or glide on the inner thighs with extra humidity. So we get out there, and to be honest with you, we get there and they say, hey guys, we're going to go do a cattle drive. And I'm a big fan of the show Yellowstone. Like that's like something that I've wanted to do. We're going to move some.
You were clicking your heels.
Oh, literally.
You went and got your spurs.
Oh,
everything. You were all in.
So jacked up. Now, I may or may not have worn jeans, but I definitely wore the chaps.
Chaps with the ass out.
Assless chaps.
So I was ready, right? We go over there, and once I hear what it is, in my mind, because of like the joking and banter back and forth, I'm thinking, okay, I haven't seen too many brothers on a horse. Darren's going to be the one that's going to be like, dude. So we get here, and like I didn't even think about it. But they say, okay, who's nervous about this? everybody in our company that was there turns and looks at Darren. And Darren's like surprised that everyone's looking at him.
And what I say to everybody? Why is everybody looking at me?
It was a very
Racist.
It was a very racist moment.
So what's funny though is as everybody shifted their eyes to Darren, they overlooked the fact that Ben had zero hesitation in raising his hand, saying,
Yeah.
I'm the nervous one.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little skittish.
Hey, we're talking giant animals. I'm not going to sit here and try to lie and say that I'm good. I was nervous.
Yeah, you stepped out.
So he put it out there, and kind of contrary to my initial comment of this episode, is he was not afraid, like he said, to just admit it. Like, let's just put it out there. And so here's the thing though, is you could see him kind of battling internally. Like he's really thinking about this process, and like they're bringing horses by, putting people on one by one. And like, you could tell he's like, okay, which one's like really calm? Like which one is going to be like really good? And they get him up, and horses feel nervousness, right? Like it's a bond, right? They want to feel confident. Oh, Ben.
Me and Bart were bonded.
Bart. Oh. Dude, you know how many times I heard Bart's name? I didn't know my own horse's name. All I heard was, whoa, Bart. Whoa, Bart. That his whole name, whoa, Bart.
Yeah, that was Bart. Yeah, Bart didn't listen.
But he gets on, right? And he gets on and he goes through this. And there's a couple ways to look at it, right? Either he's got enough ego to not get made fun of by his colleagues, so he's just going to push through it. Or he sees an opportunity like, okay, look, this is something I'm not comfortable with, something that I would never choose to do on my own, but I'm forced to an opportunity. Do I bypass this fear that's looming to possibly experience something that's really cool on the other side? And we'll get to the end of the story here in a second on what his actual decision was. But it was honestly, I'm watching this and it's clear as day. And then they put you on first too, by the way.
No, I was actually on
you were the first, but you were the
One
first
of the
couple.
first,
One of the first, the first five of,
which I didn't want because
you're gonna
the
sit on
sooner
it
you're
for a while.
on, you're sitting on that thing for a while. That's just more time that something bad can happen.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about this, and there's a reason why I jumped on first.
Really?
There really was. There's a reason. We'll
get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So and Ben being a 235, 240 pounds, what are you right now?
Yeah, ish.
It's not a light person for a horse either.
Yeah.
So now he's going to stand in the arena where we're loading up on this horse for another 15, 20 minutes while we have individuals that are limited in flexibility climbing up on horses. which was
true limitations.
It was a sight to see for sure.
But anyways, point being, and I want to hear Ben's perspective of this because I've told the story. But it was something that it really was encouraging to see someone face that and push through it. Again, whether you enjoyed it on the back end of it, we'll hear. But it was and he did good. I mean, you were
awesome.
running cattle and you were chasing him down. I mean, you were kind of hugging that fence line, make sure you're staying on the road and
Again,
everything.
I didn't have any control. I was along for the ride.
But what was kind of your thoughts of getting off of that horse? Now, granted, we shut it down an hour early, which was
very
broke my
welcome.
heart.
You were last one. You were so pissed that we shut it down.
I was like literally like going, and then I'd ride around a tree, and then I go a little, and then I ride around, and then go over here. Oh, I think I see one of the heifers that we missed. I gotta go get literally every excuse to stay out there, right? But what was your experience, kind of walking away from that, thinking that like and to find out you were deathly afraid of getting onto a horse?
Yeah, I mean, this is a dumb example. I recognize that these horses do this thousands of times a year. Like, there's really, at the end of the day, there's really not that much to be scared of. In fact, when I got on, the lady told me, I said, is this horse usually pretty chill? She said, yeah, this is the one we usually give to most of the kids. And yeah, you laugh, but I kept thinking, perfect. Awesome. So he's good with kids. So he'll be good with
this big kid.
And honestly, when we took off, the horse was wheezing. I'm not kidding. He was wheezing.
You kept on saying that.
He had children on his back he's an older horse. And now he's got me 230 pounds. So yeah, my initial fear was, it was, you said a second ago, it was a mixture of ego and fear that drove, or that was coming through. The ego of, because we did have an ATV, or what it was, a four-wheeled, whatever you call those, ATV. And there were a couple of us a couple of the people on our team sat back and they rode the ATV. So I could have said, "Hey, I'm going to jump on the ATV."
I'll jump on with Cindy and Karen.
So the ego.
I mean, those might or might not be the real.
Yeah, great people, but there's a stereotype there, right? Older ladies.
Yeah.
So the ego in me said, I can't be with the older ladies in the ATV. I've got to get up there and do this.
Yeah.
But then there really was a true fear of, I don't know what this animal's thinking. I don't know what it's doing. I've never done this really before. I've been on a horse when I was 12 and you just ride in a line and it's the easiest thing ever. But this was truly like, you're actually with wild animals, trying to round them up, trying to get them through a gate. Now, again, it wasn't that extreme, but these are the thoughts going on in my head.
But the reality is, it wasn't just like walking a horse on a trail while somebody holds the reins and walks you, right? You're literally trying to move 700,000 pound cattle, right? Not knowing if they're going to spook, not knowing what's going on. I mean, there's legitimate.
And they're talking about if your hat flies off, it could spook the horse. They're talking about don't get your horse next to these. Like there's just so many. It's hot as ball. Like there's so many elements.
If you're next to this horse and the ears fall down, they're about to fight. So
there's just so many elements that I felt were out of my control.
Yeah.
And as dumb as it sounds, I really did process in my head, hey, this is an opportunity. You're scared, do it anyway. Yes, you're going to look like a punk if you don't, but even more important, you're facing a situation that you're not super comfortable with, but you can prove to yourself that you can do it.
Yeah.
And so it got me thinking about how many times in my past personally have I foregone a situation or, missed an opportunity because I was scared.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of what could happen. And I can think of a lot of examples where I've done that.
Yeah.
Whether it's, roller coasters as a kid, whether it's, a job that I didn't want to take because I was, I got so used to security. There's so many examples of that, of how fear, you can use it positively or negatively.
Yeah. And one of the things too, I think that's important not to miss here is that we're not saying it's not okay to be scared. Right. We're not saying that like, hey, you're less of a person if you are scared. We're not saying don't vocalize it, because one of the things that I respected is I knew you were scared, but you pushed forward anyways, as opposed to, I guarantee a third of the people out there were just as afraid, but were hiding it.
Absolutely. And they said, look, I think when they said, hey, they asked us to raise our hands on who was nervous, right? So I was trying not to be the one. Everyone looked at me and I was like, no, I'm not. And then I saw Ben walk up and a couple others and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to bullshit you. Yeah. I'm nervous too. So I joined that same crowd. So my entire life, guys, this is how I've tried to overcome fear, is to be first. That's the way I've always overcame fear. Even and people always say, well, you always should be, well, you shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be. Man, fear is a part of life. It just is. I can remember doing Oklahoma drill when I was a kid, and I was like 12 years old, and there was another kid that was a really good running back, big, strong kid, and I knew at some point they were going to put us together, right?
Oh, I know what you're doing. You're counting the line.
Yeah.
And you're saying, go ahead in front of me.
It was inevitable. He was up front and I was in the back. Yeah. And I remember, this is 12 years old, and I remember I said, at some point I'm going first.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always overcame my fears. And when I was nervous that day, because you just said it, Ben, everything that you felt, I felt the same. This was my second time being on a horse. And I felt the exact same fears. So the only way I could overcome that was when they said, okay, we're going to start getting on who's first. Boom, raise my hand. Because that's the only way I can overcome it.
Yeah. But also, too, Ben admitted, okay, hey, look, I'm scared. Had he not and had other people try to be tough,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
You could not have encouraged other people to say, okay, you know what, it's actually okay. It's actually okay to be scared. And I'm actually going to get paired up with someone that can actually help me and to help me walk through this fear, right? Yeah. Had you been on, one of the loaner horses, the third-party horses.
The wild Mustangs out there.
Right? Had you not, you could have been put on one of those that would have put you in a very bad situation and could have ended, with bad results. So the courage in it, and then to go first too, like don't hesitate.
Don't hesitate.
No, that's a great point, because taking that first initial step, before you can think about it too much, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to do it.
That's it.
I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And you know that, Tyler, you mentioned it. You don't hear us saying that, it's bad to feel fear. Everybody, it's a natural response to have that fear. It's a good thing. In fact, it's a survival instinct. The adrenaline, the cortisol, all that gets flowing to help you determine, is this a situation where I'm going to fight? Is this a situation where I'm going to run?
Yep.
That's just human nature.
Yeah.
So ego, I think, comes in and decides, all right, am I going to play on this fear and let it, well, maybe it's not as much ego, but you do have to make the decision in the moment. Okay, am I going to let this fear propel me to do it, or am I going to let this fear keep me from doing it?
Yeah.
And you, Darren, you mentioned something a second ago, Oklahoma drill. I've never admitted this in person. When I was in 7th grade, this is a true story. We used to have to be the scout team for the 8th grade. And there were some guys on the 8th grade team that were men.
Bang. Yeah.
They were men.
Yeah.
And so we were basically practice dummies. I can vividly remember, honestly, I don't even know if anybody knows this from my 7th grade football team. Sorry, guys. I would fake injuries and sit out practice when we had to go do scout team. I'm dead serious. Because the fear crippled me in that moment. I was so scared to go against those 8th graders. I said, Coach, I'm hurt. And I would sit out, and I'd let my teammates go out there and just take a beating.
Take a look at
now, how wrong is that looking back? But fear in that moment crippled me that nothing else mattered other than my safety. That's all I could think about in that moment was how can I take care of me?
Yeah. And that's a natural.
And again, I just think of all the other times that fear has done that. How can I take care of myself here?
Yeah. And so I think there's a couple different types of fear maybe that we can identify, and not to continue piling on the football stories, but the Cowboys, one thing Jason Garrett did every single Wednesday, it was a full padded practice, right, is he would bring the entire team up, and it was typically between 7-on-7, where it's like the receivers, running backs, quarterbacks would go against the secondary and linebackers, right? For those of you who don't know that what 7-on-7 is. And after that, before the team periods where everybody comes back together and we do full contact, run situations. So we would do one-on-one pass protection.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was the old school, everybody gets in a circle
and
then watches the entire team, and it's one person at a time. And literally, like, talking about it, when you brought up the Oklahoma drill and you were talking about the scout, I still feel that feeling in my stomach. That feeling of nervousness and fear.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was fearful of was not, okay, hey, this is dangerous, or I don't want to get hurt, or it was fear of failure. Because now you're on center stage and there's nowhere to hide. So literally, and again, like you, I'll admit it, is multiple times. And when I say multiple of the 17-week season, this probably happened 60% of the time. Is I knew over Jason's right shoulder behind him, he would never pick out those people unless he had it written down ahead of time.
If that's not Tyler,
so I'm not hiding.
Man.
I'm not hiding because I'm hollering and I'm this, but I know his attention wouldn't be over his right shoulder, right? Because if you're across from him, he can pick you out as he's doing this. So I'm always like behind his right shoulder. He can hear my voice, but he's not visually seeing me for it to register. Now, I had to do it 5 or 6 times to act, because he wrote it down before. He goes, I haven't seen that sissy in like 5 weeks. Clutzy, get out there. But literally, I was so scared. Like I get nervous before games, and that was me. But I could at least transition those into adrenaline, but like literally, I'm just scared to where I'm shaking.
Yeah,
and I'm so nervous, and it hindered my performance because I literally like succumb to the fear, and then it's like I'm super nervous and I'm stiff, or I'd anticipate something when you're supposed to react. I mean, whatever it was. But just like you, it was literally I'd hide. Yeah. I literally would hide. And this is as a pro athlete. Wow. I was so confident in my pass protection. Like I was like, the backup, never gave me a chance, but the backup, third down back. No, backup third down back, right? So I was super comfortable back there in protection in a live situation. But when it came to one-on-one in front of everybody and my teammates specifically, like super scared.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And so again, there's different elements. And I think what we succumb to more often than not is that fear of failure. And not necessarily, because look, there's things that like just logically, I don't want to get myself, like it's a legitimate fear to be on a horse. It's a legitimate fear to be on a roller coaster. It's a legitimate fear to not jump off a cliff, right? Like there's things that are like, if I don't do this exactly right, there's an actual injury that's associated with this. But I think we are more paralyzed with the idea of failure.
Absolutely. And I think the fear of failure plays into a lot of what we do and the decisions we don't make. Like there's so many times just in life, there, the fear, one of the number one fears is getting up in front of a crowd and speaking. Right. I remember being in school and we would have to have these, do a speech or whatnot. And I would be dead scared for 4 or 5 straight days leading up.
Oh yeah.
To that day. Yep. Right. And it's just, and then I think the one thing that really helped me, that really changed my life was in that 12th, when I was 12 years old. It changed, that moment changed my life as far as how to deal with it, because I didn't want to go against this kid. But then when I went against him, I was like, okay, next time I have this moment. So when I used to do speeches, it was the same thing. I want to go first. Yeah. Because they'd always start with A. And I was a W. And the first time I saw this, I was like, holy shit. I got to wait
I'm just going to sit in this. Sit in this fear. This sweaty pool in my chair called fear.
Yeah, but it was the fear of failure, the fear of people looking at you, and you just didn't get the job done.
Yeah.
And you're embarrassed through that process.
And that's what I want to talk about in a second is how we play these things up, and then we go through it and realize that it was not near what we played up in our head.
So before that, though, I think one of the things that is also really apparent is like the fear of stepping out into something new, right? Something that you've never experienced. Like, I mean, something as simple as, hey, trying a new restaurant for date night because we're so comfortable to it, or a new vacation spot that we just want to go back to what we did. And one thing that I've learned personally is I was like, my wife and I have this comfort zone and we like doing these certain things, but we actually went out on a limb and we went up and visited Choctaw Resort and Casinos in Durant, Oklahoma, right? Initially, it's like, okay, hey, easy, we're going to go to Vegas. We love Vegas. Vegas is fun. We go for the shows, the food, the other extra, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. The other extracurriculars. Totally kidding. Food and desserts. But so we went up to Durant, Oklahoma, which you're like, okay, it's 45 minutes from our house. It's so easy. It's just over an hour from Dallas. It's easy. And you don't realize, but it's something new. Yeah. I mean, they've only been around as a resort for 15 years.
Yes.
And it's like, you just don't even think about it. We went, it was incredible. First of all, it was incredible before this new renovation that's opening up in August. But I mean, and then we're there and we're seeing all these things and we've got a list on the amenities that they have, the spa, the concerts. I mean, all of the things that they have. Yeah. It was like, why did I wait so long? Why did I wait until W was called for speeches? Why did I wait and sit in this because I wish I would have gone first in that speaking list. And I wish that I would have gone up to Durant, Oklahoma.
So so
much sooner.
So the message would be, if you're in this Dallas-Fort Worth area or anywhere around the country, get out of your comfort zone. And if you haven't experienced Choctaw Resort and Casino. If you haven't experienced it, get out and experience it. It is unbelievable. I mean, again, Tyler just spoke on spa, just spoke on the new renovations that they have. If you have kids, this is the best time to do it in the month of June, July. That's right. Kids are out of school. Get out there, have a good time. Get out there, experience the pool, and just have a great time there. I can't wait. Who's coming? Listen, this summer we're gonna have some concerts.
I think Enrique Iglesias is coming.
Enrique, not
Enrique.
Come on, man. Nope. Why do you do that, man?
Wrong Iglesias, man.
I said Julio the first time. Not Enrique.
That was a joke at you because you started naming off dudes that were popular in the 40s.
Yeah, you said Iglesias, and I was like
Gabriel
Iglesias, the comedian.
Yeah, the comedian.
So you got
Aaron
a mix.
Watson. I mean, there's country
Brian
music.
Bingham, Miranda Lambert. I mean, the list goes on and on.
And I'm glad you mentioned that you're going to take your wife, Tiffany, because I'm going to take my wife.
That's right.
Tiffany as well. So, Ben.
Yeah, we're going.
When is it? We've been talking about date night for how long now?
Yeah. I'm getting on a date this, I guess when this airs, it'll been last Friday. I'm getting on a date this Friday.
Are you going to Choctaw? Are you taking
probably?
Whit?
I don't think we'll have the time to go to Choctaw this Friday, but we're definitely going this summer. We've already got it planned. We're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Going to concerts.
Take her to the spa.
Because here's the great thing about Choctaw, and then we'll get back to the discussion, is it allows you to transport to another world without having to deal with the headache of an airport or all the travel.
Yes.
It's a 30-minute drive, depending on where you are.
Yeah,
now.
it's Vegas-style resort.
Yes.
I mean, and quality, if not exceeding what's in Vegas now. Like, it really is. It's insane.
Yeah.
And so, and really, even so if you're going in the next week or so, first of all, the last weekend was Father's Day.
Right.
So if wives out there, mothers out there, if you're like me and maybe drop the ball on getting your husband a gift, get them some concert. Favorite concert, I guarantee, is going through Choctaw. So get them. But also, if you're going in the month of June, they've got this pretty cool promotion right now, and you may have seen the billboards if you're in the Dallas area. If not, fly in, drive over. But they've got a thing called Paradise Payoff Giveaway, right? So they're giving away $700,000, just giving it away. You don't have to put your money down on the table, giving it away. So you can win a portion of that $700,000. All you've got to do is play with your rewards card, and you get entries. That's it. It's simple. And every Saturday they make these drawings, and it's the easiest money you'll ever make.
Love it.
So we're in.
Make sure to check them out. So
back to the question I had before. Can you guys think of a scenario where you were scared to do something, you played it up in your head, it was super scary, and then you did it and you realized, man, that wasn't that bad. Can you think of anything like that?
Yes. Atlantis. Took my kids to Atlantis.
Oh, I know where this is going to slide.
Years.
Yeah. By the way, humble brag here. Yeah. I mean, we just do Atlantis, no big deal.
First time I ever went to Atlantis,
I'm a baller, just no big deal. We're going out to the Bahamas.
So when I pulled the yacht
I was
up,
in Turks and Caicos.
So when the yacht pulled up,
I actually took my helicopter from the yacht up to the penthouse suite.
No, man, but I'm telling you, I was up on top. And again, my son, DJ, I was with DJ because my other two kids were too afraid to go up there. Shot at my son, Jaden, who's here. But DJ and I get to the top. And if you haven't been to this Atlantis and been on this slide, it is, I can't tell you how many stories there are. And I'm afraid of heights,
All of
man.
them.
All of them.
All of the stories.
All the stories. But I get to the top, and it's a long line. We finally get there, and we're looking over the edge, and my God, like I wanted to walk back down. Matter of fact, I stopped and I just stopped in my tracks, and DJ was like, "Dad, let's go. Let's go." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, you go ahead." And he went down that slide. He went, and it's, when you go down, you can't see it.
Goes underground, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes under
through like an aquarium.
Like the sharks are on one side of the deal. And he went down that slide, and I was like, "Save yourself!" And basically, he went down, and this is how close I was. I was going to walk back down, and the guy there, this old man, looked at me. He's like, "Man, come on, dude." Come on, dude.
I see those traps. There's no reason
Dude,
you should ever walk down these
I'm in the height
stairs.
of my football career, too. I was like, no, I'm going down. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, my contract says I can't do it. I mean, it's a violation.
But I went down, and the coward came out of me, and I went on down, and I can't tell you how great of a time we had. Like that moment, from the experience I had, and I'm talking about it now because it was a great experience. My son saw me go down. He saw the fear in me. He saw the coward in me, first of all, and I got past that point, which was good.
Yeah,
he needed to see that
you struggled.
That I was struggling.
Yeah,
right. So I get down the slide, and the first thing he said, "You were scared." You were scared, and I said, "Yeah, I was." He said, "Let's go again." And I was like, "All right, man, let's go again." But I had to overcome that. Yeah, but I had to. But you know what I mean. But it was.
Sir, I got to change my. I got to change my shorts.
The drawers are a little dirty right now. But the experience, just going through what it is as an experience, allows you to overcome because it gives you the confidence to move forward.
Yeah. That's a great story and obviously funny, whatever. I think of a more maybe practical example that people can apply that are listening. I think of cold calling. That's like my number one That's like my number one fear is picking up a phone, calling somebody I've never talked to before in my life. That fear, that anxiety, everything that overcomes you, and having to dial the phone and do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I think about when I think of fear at this stage in my life.
Yeah.
And it's the scariest moment. You play it up in your head, this is going to go terribly. And most of the time it does go pretty bad.
Yeah.
But but there's the few times it's like every single time I hang up, it's like, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Now, maybe I wasn't quote unquote successful and I didn't get the meeting or whatever I was trying, the objective, but it definitely, that fear very easily for me shuts me down from pursuing those opportunities.
Is it the fear that you care about what people think?
I think so. I think it's a lack of confidence in what I'm saying. I think it's a fear of they're going to hang up on me. They're going to think I'm an idiot, which again, it's not justified because it goes bad, they'll never think about me ever again.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I've played it up in my head. And it's also the fear, we're talking about fear of failure. It's the fear of like, this is how I feed my family. And if this doesn't go well, then I'm not going to be able to put food on the table.
How much do you feel like, I mean, and us three talking about this, when you're truly confident in your abilities, like truly confident in whatever it is that you're going to be talking about, is that fear still there for you?
Usually not.
So the part
like
of
training, for instance,
yes,
personal training.
yes,
I can go up to somebody and cold call them about personal training because I'm so confident in what I'm talking about. I know for a fact I know more than you about this. When I pick up the phone, hopefully nobody listens to this potential prospect.
That bought that bullshit that I was selling.
But there is that sense of what if they ask me something I don't know?
you don't know. Yeah, it's the
What
fear
if,
of not
what if
knowing.
they know way more about this than I do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't really have that fear in training because I'd done it for so long.
So again, getting back to it, is it the fear of actually cold calling, or is it the fear of not knowing?
Fear of not knowing.
Yeah, but I think it's also, because I hear what could it be fear of inadequacy as a man? Like I'm not good enough?
I don't think it's as a man. I think it's just as a human being.
And maybe as a person. I'm just saying, okay.
As a human being, I'm sure women
specifically
struggle with
you
it too.
are, I believe, to be a man.
Yeah, I identify as a male today. But again, there's a few fears going on. It's the fear of I'm not going to know what I'm talking about. The fear of what if this doesn't go well? I need this, right? And when you're operating out of that fear, you usually don't perform as well as what you could.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
As opposed to if I'm talking to somebody about training, I'm going to speak confidently. They're it's just like the horse, right? I was scared to get on that horse. He could feel that.
Yeah.
Whereas Tyler, you weren't. Your horse could feel the confidence in
Yeah.
you, and it was a much different experience.
Yeah.
And so I think if you can, and some people don't have that fear, like for cold calling specifically.
Yeah.
Some people
I think everybody's wired different. That's why everybody's fears
It
are
really is how
different.
you approach it, because the people that don't have that fear and they think it's fun, they tend to do a lot better.
Yeah.
Than somebody like me who is fearful.
Yeah.
Who's not confident. Who's playing scared.
That's right.
So I think it's a lot of things.
Let's go back to that cold calling moment. Let's go back to that. If you were just put on the spot and you had to just do it now, like, hey, let's call right now. Are you better off? Or do you feel like it's even worse, which I would think it would be even worse, if you had time to think about this Friday, today is Wednesday.
Yeah,
this Friday,
you give me time, I'm going to play it up in my head. That is so much worse. So it's to your point earlier, that's why you like to go first before you have any time to think about it.
Don't want to think about it. It's
like
the
if you
brain.
jump,
It's
you're not giving yourself enough time to dwell on it.
That's right. So it's how do we overcome that? Here's the question: is the brain? Your brain is so powerful but how do you overcome? Like it's the mindset, right? It's like almost like a switch.
Yeah.
That we have to overcome ourselves before we can even pursue it, right?
Yeah. I think I'm just thinking through this, and so I'm just off the cuff here, so bear with me, is if we're going to approach and conquer a fear and overcome that fear, I think we have to have the confidence that it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And how do you do that? Because a lot of times we will just like, I'm scared of it, but I've just got to do it.
Right.
But what we don't do is to give ourselves the confidence to push through that fear is recognize, is this worth it? Like, is this something that I really want and I really want to do? And if you can identify that in your head one way or the other, is this something that I really want to accomplish? And you say, yes, it is. I feel like the confidence and courage starts to manifest itself inside of you, right? And it's like, okay, I am going to push through this. And also, if it is something that you really want to accomplish, am I going to invest the time to overcome it? Yeah, look, there's spontaneous things that you've got to overcome. But I'm talking about, okay, like business, personal, any of those things where it's, okay, it's something I'm scared of failure, but I do believe that I want it, but I'm not just going to wing it, like a presentation or making, a really final decision one way or the other, or a cold call or whatever it is. So those cold calls, if you take a partner into that room before you're afraid to do it, but it's worth it because it's going to lead to business, it's going to lead to revenue for my family. Is it worth it to take 10 minutes, bring a partner in and rehearse it and to run through it one time? Is it worth it to rehearse your speech in front of the mirror or your spouse or a friend before you go out and do it? Right. And so I think what that does is that preparation and confidence, right? There's only so much room, right? It starts to push out that fear, right? There's not enough room. You start to fill it with confidence, start to fill it with preparation. That's one way it can go out. Right. For me, I know that I've gone through many presentations to win business. And as of late, and part of it I think is the knowledge and competence has increased with experience over time. But the most recent presentations that I've given is I went through rehearsal and I went through, yes, I really want this. And those presentations were easier and less nerves involved, less fear involved when I actually stood up in front of them and presented, which allowed me to look comfortable, to look confident, to look all those things that I wanted to accomplish because fear was less present. I'm not saying it wasn't present, but it was less present. So I think first step to your question is decide if it's worth it. Decide if this is really something that you want to do. And if you say yes, like for example, one of the things that, this is stupid, but in college, we went up as a big group of friends up outside of Fresno, up in the foothills. I can't remember the name of the cove, but it was this beautiful, right? It's this little like oasis up in like these dry foothills in California. And there's this like oasis of green trees. There's like a 40-foot waterfall with this river above it, and then cliffs all the way around it. And we went up with all these friends, and I remember like the ego was like, all right, y'all are doing the 40-foot cliff. I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to do the 50-foot cliff. And I remember literally standing up there and I had to internally talk myself into, okay, is this something that I really want? Do I feel like there's enough reward jumping off of this? A stupid 19-year-old came to the conclusion that, hell yeah, I want
that
this.
extra 10 feet is going to get me.
That's what I'm saying. Some super street cred.
Who was she?
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Hey, I ain't throwing names out there, but there was a couple bunnies there that I was like, come on, girl. But literally, I do remember that, and you described it like coming over that, overcoming that fear and realizing, oh my gosh, dude, that was freaking fun.
Right.
And it was the heart. My feet felt like 1,000,000 pounds. My heart was beating out of my chest. But I remember like finally committing. You know when you jump into a pool, like I think it's going to be cold, but I'm going for it anyways. Like I just got to get in. It was that feeling times 1,000. Like, all right, here we go. Right. And then jump in. And then I just remember this, like, felt like 3 seconds. I don't know if it was, but it felt like forever. Like a yell, a breath, and then another yell, and hit the water. And I was like, that was the best thing that I've ever done at that point. Right. And so it was worth it to me. I decided up on top of that rock, it was worth it. And I didn't have time to do the preparation, but it moved that fear out of the equation more than if I just was like, I got to jump or I don't need to jump,
Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
No, I think there's that. I think it's like two categories if we're looking at it. Like there's that physical fear of doing something, right? There's always the physical aspect of if I jump off this cliff and there's some rocks at the bottom. The fear of hitting that water. There's that, and then it's the football fear of, hey, we're gonna do this inside run and it's gonna be a physical contest, and maybe I get embarrassed, but it's a physical thing as well. But it also goes back to what you were saying, Ben, is doing a cold call or preparing for a presentation. which is not on the physical side, but it's all mental.
Yeah. A job interview.
A job interview, right? And I guess I'm trying to get to a point where, what are some of the tools that we're utilizing to overcome those fears? And I'll go first, man. If I'm not sure if you wanted to go another direction, but if it's on the mental side, first of all, I have to get myself ramped up. And you're right. How important is this to me? One. But then two is put perspective in and say to yourself and to those involved, like, who gives a damn about the person across from me? Yeah. He's no better than me. He's the exact same person, right? There's nothing special about him. God made him or her the same as they made me. I think you got to put that in perspective, one. And two, most of the time when you're talking to someone, even through a speech, before you go out into a speech, half the people aren't even freaking listening.
Yeah.
They're not even tuned in to what you're saying. In high school or in grade school, if there's kids that are out there, moms and dads that have kids, tell your kids that half the people aren't even listening to what you're saying. Because I was a W, and I was the last one to go. And I'd have to watch the A's and the B's go, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Because you were thinking about your thing so
I
much.
was thinking about me so much more. And most people are doing exactly that. They're more concerned about themselves than they are you.
Yeah.
And then get to the point of understanding what failure looks like.
Yeah.
Because failure is not bad, man. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And accept it.
Yeah, I think of three things that I think are helpful in these scenarios for me. Number one, it's that chatter. We had I guess the episode will air in a few weeks with Ethan Cross, and it's how you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
What's the story you're telling yourself? Darren, you have the ability to tell yourself you're a badass, and that helps you confidently go execute. Right. Some people don't have that, so it's developing that attitude of how do you speak to yourself. And in fact, sidebar, but in the Team Olympics that we did, I can vividly remember, because we just had this discussion, a lot of those Olympic events, I'd never done anything like that before. Right. Shooting skeet, doing all this stuff. I can vividly think about playing back to a few days ago, I was telling myself, dude, you got this.
Yep.
Whereas maybe before that conversation, I would have been like, man, this is hard. I've never done this before. Right. So it was the story that I was telling, and I did okay, right? Because I went in confidently knowing. So that's number one. I tell myself, the chatter that I tell myself, I need to pay attention to the story that I'm telling.
Right.
Number two, in training, they call it the principle of specificity. Basically, if you want to become a better bench presser, you have to bench press. If I want to become a better cold call, I have to do the act of cold calling.
Right.
That's going to get me better at that. That's going to help me overcome my fear, is by just simply picking up the phone and doing it. Right. Now, there's little ancillary things, prepare, all that. That's great. But I have to actually pick up the phone if that's something that I want to overcome.
Yep.
Right. And then the third thing, we keep talking about they're dumb examples, but I really don't think they're that dumb. It's doing stuff like jumping off a cliff or getting on a horse when you're scared. Controlled, there's a good % chance that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There is that slight fear that you're not, but for the most part, like I knew for the most part deep down, I was going to be okay getting on that horse. I was nervous, but putting myself in those scenarios, what am I scared to do?
Right.
I'm going to go do that because now I can call upon that confidence. Yeah. No, it's not the same thing. I'm not getting on a horse when I'm picking up that phone. But I am sitting here replaying and knowing, hey, I can do hard things.
Right.
It's not that scary. I can pick up this phone.
Yeah.
So those three things for me are what's helpful now as I get older in overcoming that fear. What's the chatter I tell myself? I've got to just do it. And what are some other things that can translate to whatever I'm scared of doing?
I like that. And I want to hit a little bit more on that perspective. Is I think we're just so afraid of the failure.
Yeah.
We're afraid of that. And if you have perspective and you really truly say, cold calling, if I fail here, what are the consequences?
Yeah.
If I do, right?
Right.
Because we build it up in our head and and fear is real, but we just, without really truly putting it in perspective, we just say, oh my gosh, I don't want to fail. I just don't want to do it. But in reality, it's like, okay, if I fail, even if I fail 10 times in a row on these cold calls, is my wife not going to love me?
Right.
My kid's going to forget me? Am I going to have no money in my bank account? Am I going to get fired? No. They just hang up the phone. You feel uncomfortable for 2 seconds? and then you move on to the next one, right? So I think we just, and whatever situation it is, and there's real things that you can say, okay, hey, look, there's legitimate consequences here. And there's legitimate, like, hey, if I'm going to invest, this money into this investment, what are the consequences? Yeah, you could lose all that, right? That's a risk reward. You've got to evaluate that. But so I would, more often than not, the consequences are so minimal. It's the idea of fear that is holding you back, not the consequences. Right. When the consequences should help you make that decision, not the fear, right? You should get to the point of saying, okay, pros and cons. Okay, hey, what are the positive outcomes? What are the negative outcomes? All right, which one on paper looks better? Okay, the negative outcomes, they really don't look that bad most of the time when we look at the things that were
positive outcomes.
Yeah,
I got to eat.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
That's right.
Family's got to eat.
Yeah.
That's as positive as they get.
Yes. That's right.
And it's worth it.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
It's worth it.
So as we wrap this up, what do you feel like, Ben, you got out of actually getting on that horse? Do you feel like I'm glad I did it? Or you feel like I got it out of my system, I never got to do it again?
Both. Can I answer?
Both.
Can I say both?
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't ride the ATV. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm not going to go out and seek riding horses again. If the circumstance comes up again, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to actively seek going and ride horses.
You know that.
Yeah.
Right? There's value in knowing what you do and don't like and what you want to pursue and what you want to risk. I mean, if you and Whit are on a vacation and she wants to go horseback riding on a beach.
Thankfully, she's allergic, so I'm good.
All right.
But your point's well taken.
You know what I mean? You're like, okay, hey,
well
I can make an educated decision now because I actually went through that process. And figured there's
that's
value.
That's amazing that you have that thought.
What thought?
That you probably wouldn't do that again, right?
Well, again, I'll do it if it's we're at a company retreat and everybody's. I'll do it.
You know what?
But I'm not gonna go call up Ranger Bob and say, "Hey, Bob, you got a horse I can ride?" I'm not gonna do that.
And I'm just the opposite.
You're actively going to look for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was
so
one of the
actually,
best times.
Yes, to really just kind of put it out there, Ben, just so you know, we're walking away from the podcast. We're going to go buy a ranch in Montana, and we're going to be full-time cattle ranchers.
Hey, I'll come be I'll come be the guy that drives the hay bales or whatever in the 4-wheeler.
But so you liked it, right?
I told you afterwards.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Tyler and I were the last two. We were way in the back. It was so peaceful, man.
Yeah.
It was as peaceful a time that I've experienced in the fact that I got over the nerves, and there was a trust value that ended up coming between me and the horse. But I'm petting the horse on the back. It's like I got to know this horse, and then I had a great time on the way back. Man, it was just like I accomplished something.
Yeah. That's great, man. I'm proud
and
for you.
overcame something. And that's what I'm saying. That's what surprised me about, because in the end, you were way out of control with Bart.
Yeah. No, at the end, I was trying to get to the front of the line so that people would help me off first.
Bart was trying to get to the front of the line, trying to get your ass off his back. But I just thought, man, I overcame a fear, and I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd do it today if I had the opportunity to do it again.
There you go. Love it.
Yeah. So I think just to summarize today, is acknowledge that fear is real. Don't be ashamed of it. I think don't be afraid to hide it, because you admitting your fear, admitting that you are scared about taking that next step, can help somebody else acknowledge that and give them the encouragement. But then also, in addressing the fear, weigh out positives and negatives. Prepare, have different perspective on it. What are the positives? What are the negatives? What's the worst that can really happen? Is that the worst consequence for this? Is that really worth me not doing this?
Yeah.
The law of specificity.
Specific.
You've got to do it. You've just got to do it over and over and over. I'm just going to breeze past it, guys. I couldn't get that thing out. I couldn't get that word out. I don't even know what that means.
I didn't even try.
I don't even know what that means.
French.
It's French. He started to use these big ass words over here. Like Ben's over here using these big words like we know.
Hey, I don't know if y'all knew this. I went to Harvard.
of West
Texas.
Central West Texas. Now, I wouldn't even say West Texas.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Darren.
Darren, no. Hey, we got to
wrapping this
We got to do this
up.
again. Darren, where can people find us on social
You
media?
can find us at the Darren Woodson Show on Instagram.
Sort of.
Darren Woodson Show.
There you go.
Darren Woodson Show. And Instagram. You can follow me personally, Darren Woodson 28 on Instagram.
That's a heck of
I
an
know that
account.
part. You can follow us on Twitter.
Darren, when's the last time you posted on
Facebook.
Instagram?
On this, just the
I
other
know
day.
the answer.
Just the other day. I just posted yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Just yesterday.
He did.
June 1st was the last time you
No,
posted on
I
Instagram.
posted yesterday.
On your stories?
A hard post.
On my
You did
stories.
I'm talking about a hard
stories.
post on your timeline.
Well, it didn't deserve a hard post. If you're listening out there.
Don't follow Darren. He only posts once every 2 weeks.
Rocky and Jake were
Oh,
worth-
yeah.
they
Well,
were
that's
worth it.
different, man. They were.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to put their business out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Where else can people find us?
you can find us on Facebook. You can find us. We got what are we on right now? The
Google-
TikTok.
the Google-
The TikTok.
the Google and the
TikTok.
Hey, we're gonna enter next year's TikTok versus YouTube boxing match.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got
I
any
heard that
interview?
was
Yeah,
absolute
you jump in
disaster.
Yeah, Darren's gonna
You gonna do
Darren's gonna
that?
enter.
I'm not doing that.
So, but YouTube. So, if you're listening on iTunes or a podcast platform, you enjoy the visual aspect of it. We're on YouTube, and then all podcast platforms.
Love it.
Appreciate you guys.
Like, subscribe, share. Appreciate it.